Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Paddocks. It's time for season 3, and we're opening up our third season, ready to talk about the first race of the season, the Australian Grand Prix. Now, grab your drinks, your snacks, whatever it is you need, because it's going to be a long episode, and we're going to talk about the first weekend of the season and how it went down. On the episode, we have myself, Chelsea, Amy, Edo, and Mel to start us off with some circuit updates.
F1 is so back, you guys. And we have a switch in the race calendar this year. We have the Australian Grand Prix. Of course, as Chelsea mentioned, we'll be covering that, being the opener race for the season instead of Bahrain for the first time since 2021.
Honestly, I love that we are back to starting with Australia, even if it does mean that it's a 12 a.m. start time for me on the East Coast. Yes, it sucks a little bit. I just stay up. If you're somebody who tries to go to sleep and then wake up for the race, don't. It never works. Just stay up. It's so much easier.
No, exactly. Take it from someone that used to do that. It is so much easier just to stay up till like midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and just nap the rest of the day because honestly, at least we can have these crazy late night start times out of the way because RIP my schedule even more.
Honestly, Australia felt so right that I completely forgot about Bahrain. I did.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the night racing we get in Bahrain, and I'm glad it's still on the calendar. It just feels like Australia being the season opener, we're finally back to pre COVID F1. Everything's back to normal.
We should also note real quick Oscar is now officially with McLaren for a multi year contract, almost matching Lando's pay, which threw me off. He signed a few days before the race weekend, so I am expecting him to go hard as hell for the rest of the season, but specifically for Australia.
Now, while it's always mentioned recently, it's like a recent trend I've noticed with the teams that they do a multi-year contract. Can we know how many years? It's most likely like 2 years. But like why do we have to do the multi-year? The mystery.
We have totally said that in the past of oh my god, the bane of our existence is the multi-year deal. I feel like we're going to see that phrase for the foreseeable future. So just like scratch it off on your bingo card, make a tally, take a drink, whatever you need to do, but you're going to see it a lot. And I hate it, but it's unavoidable at this point. Now, honestly, this is my favorite thing is the fact that it is race 1 and we are immediately back at it again with track changes. And Australia brought us a few, not a ton, but they are as follows. The exit of turn 6 and the apex of turn 7 have had the curbs replaced by a negative curve, and the gravel was brought in behind the curve to avoid a repeat of what happened with George last year. It's hopeful that these changes are going to make things safer. Only time is going to tell. Alongside that, there was a re-profile to the barrier on turn 6 on the left-hand side, repainted pit lane exit lines, which are now highlighted in blue instead of just being the white line. And the following have all had blue lines added behind the white line, and that is the exit of turn 4, the exit of turn 10, the exit of turn 11, and the exit of turn 12. And highlighted with, yet again, a blue line is the safety car line 1 and 2. Now, it wouldn't be a PGP episode if I didn't bring in a fun fact. We love our fun facts. This is Ruth Buscombe-Davie's first race weekend getting to report live from the pit lane. And I love this for her. We love Ruth. Ruth is our queen. I don't know about anybody else, but I missed our F1 TV queens, Laura and Ruth, so very much. I also really missed the combination of Alex Jakes and Jillian Palmer in the commentary box. Now, leading into the race weekend, I don't know if anybody else noticed, but we have new graphics for F1 TV at least. And honestly, I love them. They're fantastic. The new fonts for the names during the intro, everything is just really good. I love a little bit of a brand refresh. It's nothing crazy, but it's just enough and it looks really good.
I am a big fan of the new graphics and everything that they changed. You can definitely tell they had more of a younger person do these updates because it's very it's a good different, but you can tell it's just someone with like a fresher mind. I don't know. And it's always just nice to see a change. It was really cool to see like the different fonts and the way they did like the top three and all that. It's just I'm a very big fan.
I did think that it was also very nice. I also liked Sky News's opening, so kind of cool that they all did a refresh. It's needed.
And another new thing that we had this weekend that I honestly didn't really know about until the weekend started was the fact that we have a new F1 partnership of F1 and Louis Vuitton. They have become the title sponsor or the title partner of the Australian Grand Prix. There's even a Louis Vuitton trophy case, which like is kind of hit or miss for me. I don't know if I love it or if I hate it or how I feel about it. I'm very indifferent still, but it was the collaboration I didn't see coming.
It's definitely hit or miss. It's the first time that they've partnered with motorsports in general, I think, that I was finding online. And I do respect that they did add a green and gold like checkerboard detail. So they were trying to do like a nod to the Australian national colors. It was really just like a strip of color, but you know, whatever. They did something. If you're listening, you can let us know in the comments if you were a fan or not. Personally, I think it was a bit of a miss. I feel like they could have done more, especially with the money they have and the artists that work on LV.
I kind of like it. I thought it was cool. Like if you saw like on the little things like on the top and then like where the grass was, like one of the grass like LVs, um, they made it like blurred out, so it made it look like you were like zooming by or the LV was zooming by. But I'm also a fan of the brand Louis Vuitton, so I am a little biased on that. So
While I like the idea of the partnership, because I mean, let's face it, I'm a fashion girly, it also means there will be no more iconic Rolex crown shots around the track because they replace them as F1's title sponsor. Especially, especially, I will miss those crown shots on the podium. On the note of Rolex, by the way, Tug Heuer also replaced them as the official timekeeper of F1. So Rolex is out of the sport, dare I say, for good, at least for now.
I am gonna miss the iconic Rolex crowns, especially when it just hits just right under the drive or over the drivers when they drive by or they're on the podium. But let's go into some of the meat and bones of the race weekend with starting with P1. Now, P1 for most of the time it was kind of chill but kind of not because we had Ollie hit the barrier and he brought out the first red flag. I think it was the first red flag. I don't remember. It was kind of late and my mind was just everywhere. But he brought out the red flag for the session.
I know I'm not alone in saying this, but seeing Bono working with Kimi Antonelli just feels kind of weird. I know it's race one, so like it's gonna take some getting used to, but it's just really weird to be honest. I'm so sorry, Kimi. You're probably really, really sweet, but like it's just weird for my brain.
It's so weird because Lewis and Bono were an iconic duo, but at the same time, I feel like it's a good pairing, those two, because Bono has such a wealth of experience, especially within Mercedes, that Kimi can ultimately benefit from, and I'm excited to see where that pairing goes.
All for calling that second Red Bull seat the Rubik's Cube seat. Please raise your hand because honestly, I think that is the most accurate description of that seat I've ever heard.
And the thing that sucks is Liam is good, but we all know Red Bull's expectations are just too high.
Now, your top three for the first time this season in FP1, we had Lando, Carl's.
R.I.P. Charlos?
Our top three For the first FP1 of the season, we have Lando in P1, followed by Carlos, and then Charles in P3.
Now, moving into FP2, we have no FP2 for Ollie Bierman, at least for the start. We had turn 6 out to get everybody, it felt like. Nico had a really big moment. He was able to catch it and like go through the gravel, though it was at a really high speed. Turn 6 just seemed to be catching everybody.
Which is funny because I thought we were trying to make it safer. But, anyways, what I thought was a little dramatic but entertaining was Liam and Lando's moment when they were coming out of the pit lane and like Lando literally went over the grass to cut Liam off, which I believe was probably unnecessary, but I'm sure Meg would tell me it was necessary. But also, maybe he had the right of way. I was trying to figure out because someone I was reading online was saying like Liam didn't have the right of way, and I was like, oh, to me it looked like he got cut off. But like Liam said, okay.
I mean, who knows who had the right of way, but I feel like it's a good indication of how the season will be between Red Bull and McLaren. They're going to fight tooth and nail, as Lando going on the grass probably showed.
My new go-to thing this season is going to be Zhou Guan Yu sightings in the Ferrari garage because, oh my god, that's my new favorite thing. Yes, I know he's now their reserve driver, but like seeing him in that garage and F1 TV giving us great footage of him. Oh my god, thank you guys. I needed that. And yet again in FP2, we have turn 6 out to get everybody, and it got friggin' Yuki. And I wanted to cry a little bit because I just, like as Chel said, weren't we supposed to be making that turn safer? I feel like whatever you did is making it more dangerous. I'm wondering if they're going to change it to something different for next year. We'll find out.
They probably won't. But what I did think was so funny, I don't know, like if you guys heard it, but Lance had gone onto the grass and all they say is, well, Lance Stroll doing a little lawn mowing. Pobrecito. No peace.
Your top 3 at the end of FP2 was Charles in P1, Oscar in P2, and Lando in P3. Now, moving on to FP3, we have Oliver, James, Bierman going off yet again. Ollie, your poor father, please stop.
I love that you worry about his dad because, let's be honest, that's all of us. But his fans are also not having an easy time of it. Though his dad's expressions kind of make you forget about the shock that is Ollie going off.
Yeah, first lap in and first 2 on the track. I think he just needed some patience. Hopefully he finds that for the next race because even the announcers, commenters, whatever, they were like, that was a rookie mistake. And I think he's above that. I think he's above rookie mistakes. He's pretty damn good.
I feel like it's that first season, like opening season jitters. I totally get it, but like, let's hope he comes back and shows us the Ollie that like we've seen before.
We also had Lawson with some power issues. Now, he only got 2 laps in before ending his practice session. And I feel like that's something to keep an eye on because, yeah, not the best to have in the first race.
Your top 3 at the end of FP3 was Oscar in P1, George in P2, and Max in P3. Your bottom 5 was Nico, Fernando, Esteban, Oliver, and Liam. Yes, Oliver, I'm using your government name.
Now going into Q1, the bad luck just continues for Ollie as he has a gearbox failure right at the start of the session. It, again, thoughts and prayers to his dad because we know that man is going to be just very stressed out this season.
Yet again, I find myself saying, Oliver, please stop stressing your parents out. And me, honestly, as an Ollie fan, boy was putting me through it. I also do have some questions for Haas because, like, why is he having gearbox issues at the start of quali? Like, It's the first race of the year. How are you already having gearbox problems?
I do think someone put a little curse on him, and he needs a little limpieza, a little cleaning before the next race.
Yeah, Amy, as a resident witch, can you do a cleanse on him, or do you know someone that can either fly over to China before the next race or do it virtually? Like, I'm begging you, please. That boy needs a break.
He really does, though. Ollie, just give me a call. I got you, babe. We'll take care of you. Don't worry. I really need to understand why Kimi Antonelli's car was so sparky and just there was so much sparks from him during Q1. It was more than you normally see. He was overall relatively impressive. I mean, yeah, it's only quali, but I was really nervous about how he was going to do. Just full stop. I will say I'm loving the V-carb livery on track. It stands out, which I just really like, so I know where they are. But everybody else's liveries just were not giving me anything this race weekend, at least.
I know that I'm very biased towards Yuki. I acknowledge that. But see, Red Bull? See? Should have promoted Yuki.
To be honest, Helmut Marko is probably on the phone as we speak.
I do have to say 10 out of 10 to Gabriele Bortoleto for outdoing Nico Hulkenberg in your first qualifying in your first season of F1. Well done, kid.
Well done indeed, because I love having a Latin driver to root for. I miss you, Franco. I really do. But Gabriel, he's right there. But out of Q1, we had Kimi Antonelli, Nico Hulkenberg, Liam Lawson, Esteban Ocon, and Ollie Behrman.
Now, in Q2, we had turn 6 out to get people yet again, and it seemed to have some issues with Yuki because he went through the gravel and like so many others have done, I just don't know what was going on with everybody in that gravel. The track changes were supposed to fix things. They've fixed nothing. They've just caused different issues. Gabriel had a little bit of a twitchy moment that really could have been so bad. Thankfully he caught it, but please don't give people heart attacks. It's your first race weekend. You have time to stress everybody out.
And the stress just continued because Lewis had spun out literally in the middle of the track, at the last minute during the session. And then the yellow flag came out and it just compromised a lot of the drivers' times. And it was a lot in a few minutes.
No, yeah. And you're totally right. I think for example, Jack, his time probably would have been a lot better if he had gotten a chance to improve. And I think he actually probably would have made it out of Q2. So that does suck. Glad Lewis was okay though.
No, exactly. It just shows how little mistakes, not even mistakes, but little incidents like that affects. It's just a domino effect going on to the other drivers. But out of Q2, we had Isaac Hajar, Fernando Alonso, yes, my fellow rookie, Lance Stroll, Jack Doohan, and Gabriel Bortoleto.
Now, during Q3, I have to give the crowd major kudos. I'm talking 20 out of 10. That crowd was just so on for Oscar Piastri, and it was so nice to hear. Obviously, part of me also hopes a little bit of them were on for Jack Doohan, but good God, they were so loud for Oscar.
Also, we had a sighting of Bottas at Merck, and I miss him. Come back. We also had Lando almost not make it to pole, which, again, like Melissa was saying, those small little moments, they can get you. His time was literally deleted for going over the lines, and he was able to pinch it, right at the end. Which respect, that also it showcases his skill, but you never know, man. That one little turn, go over the lines.
Yeah, he made it by the skin of his teeth by 800ths of a second, which apparently it hasn't been that close between P1 and P2 in Australia in 20 plus years, which is insane.
And your top 10 for the first time of the year. We have, of course, P1 for Lando Norris, Oscar in P2 making it a McLaren lockout, front row lockout, and then followed by Max in P3, George in P4, my boy Yuki in P5, Alex Albon in P6, the Ferrari boys Charles and Lewis in P7, P8, Pierre in P9, and Carlos in P10. I was not expecting some of those drivers to be up in the top 10. I don't know about you guys, but I was stressed. Very stressed.
So stressed. But let's move on to race day. But before we talk about the race, I know we mentioned the updated graphics, but can we take a minute for the new opening credits too? They are stunning, if a bit confusing, to be honest, as they showed Liam where he qualified, even though he was gonna start from the pits. It confused this girl.
Yeah, I don't think you were the only one confused because I definitely was confused. And again, I thought it was just like me being like forgetful, but he had started from the pit lane due to a change in his car's rear wing and rear beam wing, whatever that means. And then Ollie, again, my poor little bear man, he had started from the pit lane due to changing the car suspension while in Parc Ferme. Again, we're just gonna have to go out there and like do like a whole stage, a cleanse the whole 9 yards because what is going on with the kid?
And like, I understand the rules, it has to be done, but I hate seeing the rookies start from the back on their first race of the season.
It hurts. Honestly, it hurts so bad. The fact that we were starting off the year with a wet racetrack was just like not the bang I was expecting. We also, at the very top of the show, got Ruth Buscom with her predictions. And personally, I'm going to say, Ruth, can we please get predictions every race just for funsies? Because I loved it. She went with Max in P1, Oscar in P2, and Lewis in P3.
Now, of course, we had to have some chaos during the formation lap because why not? It is Australia. And another rookie is affected. My poor little baby Isaac pulled a Charles Brazil 2023, if you know, you know, and bended into the barriers during the formation lap. I was so sad.
Isaac, baby, my king. My heart broke into a million little pieces. I love Isaac Hadjar so much. I did not need that to start this season off at all.
Honestly, he's really growing on me, and I don't even like Red Bull like that. And I felt so bad because honestly, those wet tracks will get anyone, and they just weren't like properly prepared with the tires. It was not on him, in my head. I'm not blaming him.
Definitely not. I feel like wet tracks take experience. But seeing him in the wall was also such a jump scare because I don't know how F1 TV did it, but they were talking, and then all of a sudden you see him in the wall, and it's like, what the hell happened? Like, I know they showed it afterwards, but that initial reaction, I was like, oh no.
Honestly, whoever put first race delayed start on their bingo card, you absolutely jinxed it. I swear to God. I do have to say, Anthony Hamilton, you are a class act of a man. Thank you, because I know myself and so many of the PGP girls all wanted to go give Isaac the biggest hug, and the fact that Anthony Hamilton just went like dad mode was the cutest thing. I also kind of wanted to yell at F1 TV to get a camera out of Isaac's face, but that's a different story.
A different story indeed, because that kind of support for a rookie at times like this, like, it's just so needed. And even Anthony himself, like, later on said, like, he knows, like, how his parents must be feeling when, like, a crash out like that happens. And, like, he just went into dad mode and, just kind of, like, upped his spirits and everything. And it's honestly things I love to see because it just shows that Lewis is the way he is because of his father as well. You know, I love Anthony. Great guy.
That's honestly such a good point because I wrote that like Anthony will always take care of the drivers, but if you think about it, so was Lewis. He's very active in making sure everyone feels like included. So I love to witness that. Although, agree, like everyone said, I wish that would have been a more private moment and he wouldn't feel embarrassed because he came out saying like that he felt embarrassed. And it's like, it's not embarrassing, baby. You're doing amazing. And like, if anyone's embarrassed, they don't understand the sport.
Amen to all of this. Plus the fact that Anthony is the dad of Isaac's favorite driver. That interaction will stay with him forever, not just because it's his first race and everything else.
Yeah, my favorite thing like over the weekend is seeing like his selfies with like Lewis, and there was one where like Isaac was like a teeny weeny little Isaac, and like one recently, and I think there was also like an interview or something like that where like whenever he sees him, like Isaac sees Lewis, like he always wants to like shake his hand, and it takes me back to like Franco also like being a fanboy of Lewis. Like it just shows like all these rookies like grew up watching Lewis domination and everything. So it's like it's understandable, but it's also so wholesome. I love it. But anywho, we can talk about this wholesome stuff all the time. But again, another DNF. And this time it was Jack. And he did bring out the first safety car of the season. These poor rookies.
I know all of PGP absolutely heard me scream because I was unwell. That damage also just like looked really kind of rough to the car. I can already hear Flavio Briatore bitching. Like the minute it happened, I was like, oh god, Flavio's gonna lose his friggin' head.
And also probably already calling Franco. Let's be real. But jokes kinda aside, the damage does look super bad, and I feel bad for those mechanics. At least they got a head start, kind of, fixing the car because it was so early on in the race, but still, ouch.
Ouch indeed. And guess who's next? And not even like minutes later, Carlos, honey, sweetie, what were you doing in the wall? Chelsea, side note, Chris wants to know if you are okay because he literally was like, someone check on Chelsea. And I was just like, she's probably sleeping. But yes, he was very worried about your mental during that moment because it hurt to see that happen.
Well, you could tell Chris I'm not fine. I'm actually still crying, like internally. But that's okay. You know, honestly, the scream I scrumped is why I'm really happy that I did not watch it at night because my parents would have been pissed at me. But also, it wasn't even his fault. There was an issue with the car. It was like a torque. It literally gave it while he was driving. Like, it had nothing to do with him. And that pissed me off even more because I'm like, bro, you're not even letting his skill shine, Williams. I need you to to get it together. I'm very passionate about this.
Honestly, what is in the water this weekend? And I don't mean the rain, people. I mean literally what is in the water in the fucking paddock, because why is everybody having issues? What is going on in the House of Commons? That TikTok audio applies to F1 far, far too frequently for our own good.
It's all these drivers at new teams. With all the driver changes, it's gonna be spicy if the formation laps and those first few laps were any indication. Especially because the Carlos thing happened under a safety car. Come on! Not that it was his fault. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, come on!
And we all know those William mechanics were having war flashbacks. Poor guys. If y'all need a therapist, I graduate in a few months. I need a job. I'm your girl. I got you guys, Williams. Don't be afraid. Anywho, the drama continues because Yuki and Fernando were noted by the stewards for a safety car infringement. What the heck? It's the first race. As they both had more than 10 car lanes to the driver in front of them.
I do have to note, in case anybody didn't notice this, but with the new graphics, Fernando and Yuki both had little, I think they were yellow exclamation marks to show that they were under investigation. And I just like love that from a little like, oh, who's still under investigation? It's so nice to look up and just see and know, because that way I don't have to sit there and go, did I miss something? Am I losing my mind? I just know.
No, it is nice. I really liked it too, because if you see and you miss whatever happened, you can at least look it up online and like be like, what happened to X, Y, and Z driver? Really like the thought behind that.
Same. I feel like you can really tell in the past few years that they're trying to kind of really work with the viewers and like give us more information like while we're watching the race, so we're not just seeing cars fly around. And I appreciate that as a viewer who sometimes cannot watch for 2 hours straight, and maybe I do need to see a little exclamation point to see who's getting in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're trying to make the sport more, is accessible the right word? I don't know, but it's like easier to understand, especially with that color choice. It just makes it pop without being like in your face pop, like something really bad happened. So I just appreciate that.
Now again, the drama just keeps on drama-ing because Kimmy spun out, and if you ask me, it was pretty scary, but I have to give him his kudos because he saved the heck out of that car in that moment. Like his reflexes, his instincts, whatever, they're on point. Like it was impressive to say the least.
Y'all, I thought he was gonna bin it so hard.
Honestly, that was a great recovery because he was really like he was quick to jump back into his P12 position that he had like lost for a second. That was impressive. I like it.
I'm sure Toto had a huge grin on his face right about that time. Glad he didn't take the same approach as he did in 2016 with Max, where he kind of essentially lost him because he had drivers locked in.
We had Max going wide, which managed to allow Oscar by. I don't even know what happened, to be real honest. All I saw was like all of a sudden Oscar was in front of Max. I was like, when did that happen and how?
I don't know why he did it, but I did think he was going to eat it for just a second because when he took the turn, he went really wide. But I mean, that's Max, so like he had a quick recovery and I wasn't that surprised. But like for a second, I really did think he was going to eat it, and I was like, holy shit, everyone's really going crazy out there.
I mean, it's Max, and he has said in the past he's good at driving in the rain because he's Dutch, so of course he was not going to bin it. But jokes aside, he did definitely add a bit of spice. It would have definitely added a bit of spice if he ended up in the wall, which I was semi-craving at that point in the race because we had a super interesting race start and then it kind of slowed down a bit on the spice front.
We had Alex and Lewis under investigation for a potential safety car infringement. Like, I don't know how it's race one and we're having so many issues.
It's like everyone just forgot the rules over the break. Just like how students forget like school material over their summer break. It makes sense in a way.
There was no further action for Lewis, Yuki, Alex, and Alonso, which was nice to see, but still.
Now, of course, it wouldn't be a regular race without the chaotic messages from the Ferrari drivers because now they're starting from Lewis. And all I will say is welcome, Team LH, to the Tifosi. Welcome.
I love how he went from super polite on the radio at the beginning of the race to super annoyed real quick. And as Mel said, welcome. It's going to be a long season.
And it just continued with Charles because I was literally dying when he goes on the radio talking about a water leakage. And his engineer's just like, are you sure it's like not the rain or something? That whole interaction was just hilarious.
I'm pretty sure Brian said maybe it's the water, and Charles responded with, let's add that to the words of wisdom. Goddamn, Ferrari, we are so back.
It also gave a bit of Max and GP vibes, not gonna lie.
I mean, I'm also with Charles. I thought like his water line broke, the one that he like drinks from or something. Uh, but to think it was just the rain from how bad the weather was is so much worse because they were driving in that.
What I'm most excited about with Ferrari is honestly to see how Lewis and his race engineer gel as the season goes on. Obviously, very obviously, it's going to be really hard to come close to Lewis and Bono because Lewis and Bono were just Lewis and Bono. It's really going to be hard to replicate that, but it's the beginning of the season. Obviously, they're still learning each other, so like we've got to give them some time before anybody starts to freak out. Ferrari girlies, if you're stressing, take a breath, unclench your jaw. It's the beginning of the season. Everything is going to be okay.
Not gonna lie, I was hoping Bono would join him in Maranello when the news broke. Because that would have just been iconic. Like an iconic duo at an iconic brand. Yes, please. But at the same time, I just hope they develop a good friendship, as anything else would be detrimental for Lewis and Ferrari.
We had the McLaren boys stressing me the hell out far too often for the first race of the season. Yes, I'm going to keep bringing up that it's the first race of the season a lot because, like, the internet's been up in arms over this race.
Now, I did want to see them race and make things spicy because, again, it is the first race of the season. And honestly, screw the papaya rules. Screw them. Let them race. I do not care. I'm sorry, Meg. I do not care. Let them race.
I mean, Zach did say they were allowed to race. The only instruction really was to not crash into each other, and that line, to be honest, gave this girl more flashbacks. If you know, you know.
It's Oscar going, I mean, I'm faster, but okay. All right, kid. Take it down a notch. I mean, I really don't understand why they initially were kind of pulling team orders this early on. It's also Oscar's home race. Like, come on now. Your team orders honestly really should have benefited the hometown boy. It's the beginning of the season. As long as you get a 1-2, you should be cool.
I definitely think like with with Oscar's contract update, we're going to end up seeing them fighting more this season. It is what it is. Because in McLaren's eyes, I am surprised to say this, but I think they're almost like at equal standing, which is wild. But it's possible. And I know Lando probably doesn't love that, but like Oscar has skill and obviously is a very good driver because he's already gotten podiums before Oscar even, like finished his first year. And it took Lando a while to get there. Not that that's a bad thing, but it did. And I'm sure McLaren's not like going to turn a blind eye to what Oscar can do. So it's going to be interesting this season seeing who actually comes out on top and if it's because of the papaya rules or because of their skill.
I mean, I don't want to diminish Oscar's skill, but I feel like Lando took a while to get where he is at now, also because the McLaren back when he started was a totally different car. But I still want Oscar to put up a fight, as I fear if he doesn't, he will just be steamrolled, and he's way too talented for this. Plus, also, a teammate battle always adds extra spice, and I'm here for it.
And Zach finally gave it to us because you just hear him like in that interview with the commentators. He literally goes, "It's time to go racing." And from us racing fans, thank you very much because it is time. Give us a good fight.
My only issue was the radio message that said, you know the rules. Like, all right, guys, that's really cryptic. Let's not start with this. No, no, no. Then we have Fernando Alonso. What in the hell happened, Nando? Another rookie? Really?
Yeah, he spun out and hit the wall. I don't know how many drivers we're at now that have hit the wall, but it's a really tough time for the rookies this weekend.
You guys keep making this fucking joke. And I'm gonna spit my water. Because when I was reading the notes, I'm like, there's no way. But you know what? The rookies have it tough this weekend, man. It's okay, Nando. It's always our first year if we think it is.
I mean, even if the actual rookies are making that joke, we can too, you know? But, I mean, it's the first race, and it's wet. So that is somewhat to be expected. Especially as everyone is still learning the car. And as I said before, a wet race takes experience, not just with the car, but driving a car in general. I mean, TBH, this girl is still scared to drive in the wet, and it's only a road car for me.
I mean, when all 6 of this season's actual rookies claim Fernando Alonso as a rookie, he must indeed be a rookie. I'm sorry, maths. I will say, I loved that I was in our group chat talking about Haas, and the minute I say their name in the chat, I get F1 TV giving me Haas. It was really nice to hear Laura's voice. I'm really excited to see how her and Esty work together as the season goes on. Obviously, it would be really awesome for them to be like besties, maybe even be a new favorite duo. I don't know. I'm just super excited to see how that working relationship goes. It does look like it's been a rough start for Haas. They did decent last year, so like I'm hoping that maybe they just need to nail the car a little bit better. We had an unsafe release noted for Gabriel Bortoleto involving Liam Lawson.
And in turn, it ended up being a 5-second penalty for Gabrielle. And on again, these rookies, there's a hex on them at this point, I'm convinced.
While, dare I say, the penalty was somewhat predictable, it was still sad. Especially if last season was any indication with how they handed out those penalties left, right, and center.
I really want to know what the hell happened with McLaren. Please.
No, exactly. What the absolute F happened? It just happened in the blink of an eye. It was a lot.
What happened is their teams did not take them out and put them on inters and kept them on mediums, and it was the rain, and they were trying too hard to race without inters, and that's where they started effing up. All of them.
It's giving that Sochi race where Lando had spun out in the rain too, and he didn't change the tires in time. I just remembered that.
More flashbacks. But those spins were just scary, especially Oscar, as he was having a really hard time getting off that grass. And that he managed it in the first place just shows how good of a driver he is, in my opinion.
Honestly, I thought Oscar was going to put it into the wall. I didn't think it was going to stop. But seeing Yuki Tsunoda up in second was just not something I had for race 1 bingo card at all. But the best thing for me was seeing Oscar get himself unstuck, because that was kind of iconic, if I'm really honest, my guy.
I mean, I think it was that potential home race victory fire that got him unstuck.
Seeing Yuki up in second, if you heard a couple scream from the DMV, I am not sorry. Love that guy. I was so hyped seeing up there, even if it lasted only for a short amount of time.
I'll take that short win because I got a screenshot of it. And all it took was Charles spinning. Just a little spin. Got Yuki up there.
I really want to know what in the F1 gods was just going on. This race was so crazy. I was so stressed out. It was too early and too late at the same time for all of this.
Amen. So stressed. But also, Lewis and P1. Yes! Let's go. Though that's probably gonna go south, and it went south real quick.
Even for that hot, like, 1 or 2 minutes where it was like, Laurel, what is with me and like combining these names today? With Lewis and P1 and then Charles and P2. If I could take a video of me and Chris literally like dancing in circles, like trying to do like a witchcraft circle to keep that going, you guys would have had a field day with that, because literally like he just got up and started like pumping his fists like yeah, 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 and I was just like just going crazy with my little dance moves. We got a complaint the next morning that his parents heard us upstairs. So no regrets. It was fun while it lasted.
And then I look up because all I hear is somebody say Kiwi out, and I see Liam Lawson off. And Borletto, dear God, what is happening? It's the first race of the year. It's no, too much, too much.
Also, right after Liam, Max went straight to get his inters. You know why? Because even he knew he was going to need those inters. I don't know how they thought slick tires on a wet track would be safe for anyone, let alone Liam, who's a rookie and was driving on mediums. I don't care if he's already raced. He's still a rookie.
It just goes to shows those wet tires, like the full wets, are just completely useless. I don't know why they don't use them. But honestly, if you ask me, this race was just simply too much, because at this point, the only rookies that are still out is Kimmy and Ollie.
As Amy said earlier, what is going on in the House of Commons? And honestly, I started to wonder, did I jinx it by asking for a bit of spice earlier in the race?
Then we have Kimmy Antonelli up to fourth. Oh my God. What? He did get hit with a 5-second time penalty for his unsafe release. By the end of the race, we had Lando Norris in P1, Max in second, under a second behind Lando, which is crazy, and George in third. With the penalty that Kimmy was given during the race, that put Alex Albon in fourth and Kimmy in fifth.
Before I give the rest of the standings, I was hoping Albon would overtake George to finish on the podium. Would have loved to see that driver finish up there. Anywho, then we had Stroll in sixth, followed by Nico in seventh, which was nice to see both of them up there as well on the points. And then Charles in eighth, Oscar in ninth. And honestly, again, what a way to make up that error from like those crazy spin outs for Oscar. Snaps to you, my boy. And then Lewis closing out the top 10.
Not gonna lie, Lewis and 10 hurts. Especially as he was doing so well after, or dare I say, during the chaos earlier. But then again, he's still learning the car. I'll continue to say this if he continues to not be on the podium, by the way.
This was such a chaotic start to the season, and if this doesn't foreshadow how the rest of the season will go, well, we are in for a wild ride. I did not expect to see some of the drivers up there finishing in the points, but I am impressed with the ones that did, and especially those rookies that made it through.
I was screaming and crying because Williams got into the top 5. And you know what? It's going to be the norm for the rest of the season. I feel it. Carlos, Alex, either one. But Amy did catch that Kimmy and Mercedes were able to fight for the 4th position. So the final lineup did have Alex pushed down to 5th with Kimmy holding his 4th place. And you know what? I respect it.
I do have to give a major shout out to F1 TV for that good coverage of that Lando Norris champagne pop, because so nice.
Honestly, I just hope they continue to give us those, because those Lando champagne pops are iconic. By the way, this is the first time since 2022, I think Spain to be exact, that Max hasn't led the championship. He has led it for 129 days. And that is the longest it was ever led. The other 2 times that it was led for a long period of time were both Michael Schumacher.
Now, it's time for a hallmark of any PGP race recap at this point. You guys know how much we love our predictions. I, of course, per usual, because I am nothing if not consistent, pulled out my pendulum for my first predictions of the 2025 season. For the Chinese Grand Prix, my P1 prediction is Carlos, P2 is Oscar, and P3 is Max.
And I'm keeping it light, breezy, and fast. I'm going with Max, Charles, and Carlos. Max is known to win in China, so that just kind of felt obvious. Charles and Carlos, I think, did super well last season. And I also think Carlos and Alex have a really good chance of like pushing the Williams car this year and really, I think, succeeding in getting a Williams podium. I just hope we don't see like we did with Aston Martin, where they did so well at the beginning of the season and after Miami they fell off. So hoping for the best for those boys.
Same as Chelsea, I have some easy, breezy, beautiful cover girl, but I actually mean predictions for Shanghai next week. I think we'll be seeing the McLaren boys up top again, and I'm gonna throw a wild card out there and say Alex on that podium. I would like to see it. It's barely the start of the season, and that McLaren is already looking stupid fast, but something in the Williams garage is definitely cooking this season.
They are definitely cooking, but it's still so early to tell, honestly. And while I personally don't think I would want to place bets just yet, my magic dice certainly does. And he thinks he knows who's going to be on the podium. It's going to be a Gabriel Bortoleto win with Oscar and Lewis rounding out the podium. I mean, I love an underdog story, but I think a rookie win this early in the season is ever so slightly unrealistic. But P2 and 3, sign me up. I want those boys on the podium.
And to close out our episode, we have a moment of the weekend, and that is the fact that we have Albano in the points on race 1. Williams, where did this pace come from, y'all? We do have to also give a shout out to new strategist to Williams, Carlos Sainz, because apparently he was very instrumental in Alex's success. So thank you, Carlos. We love you for that one. Thanks for joining us in the paddock for episode 1 of season 3. That's a wrap on our Australian Grand Prix recap. What a wild ride down under. Drama, overtakes, a few too many surprises for our liking, but hey, that's F1 for you. We are packing up our virtual paddock and heading to China for the next weekend for the Shanghai Grand Prix. Who are you predicting is going to finish on top? Let us know on our socials. Make sure to follow us everywhere. We are Paddock Girls Podcast, except for Twitter and Blue Sky, where we are Paddock Girls Pod. Do not forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts so you don't miss an episode, and make sure to leave us a review. We love to see the reviews come through, so please leave one. We promise it does give us some extra speed on race day. Until next time, we will see you in the paddocks. Bye.
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 See ya.